The Mona Lisa was placed in the Louvre Museum in Paris in 1706, and there it hung for 200 years. Then, in 1911, the painting disappeared without a trace or a clue. Newspapers offered rewards for its return. Official investigations were launched by the Paris police and the French government. 2 years passed. In 1913, an Italian laborer admitted taking the painting.
It was supposed to be an ordinary Monday morning in Paris. The summer of 1911 was fading, and the Louvre Museum was quiet, still soaked in the soft light of dawn. The guards yawned, the marble floors echoed with footsteps, and the great paintings of Europe's past stood silent in their frames, watching. Among them, a small portrait smiled faintly from her glass box, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. She had hung there for years, a modest curiosity to art lovers, not yet the global obsession she would become. But that morning, August 21st, 1911, she was about to vanish. And in doing so, she'd transform from a Renaissance relic into the most famous face on earth. No alarms, no sirens, no frantic chase, just a quiet man with a mustache, dressed in a simple white smock, the kind worn by the museum's workers. He looked like he belonged, and that was the point. His name was Vincenzo Peruggia, a 30-year-old Italian handyman who had once worked at the Louvre, installing protective glass over paintings, including the Mona Lisa herself. Nobody suspected a thing when he slipped through the workers' entrance the night before and hid in a small storage closet behind the Salon Carré. He waited there, cramped in darkness, while the museum closed and emptied out. For hours, the only sounds were the creaks of the old building and the occasional echo of a guard's footsteps. And when dawn broke, Vincenzo stepped out into the silent galleries, the halls of the Louvre still asleep. He knew his target, the small portrait of a Florentine woman painted by Da Vinci in the early 1500s. He had stared at her countless times while working there, fascinated by her soft smile, that strange, knowing expression that seemed to shift when you looked at it too long. Some would later say he was obsessed, others would say he was just a patriot. But that morning, his plan was simple: take her home to Italy. He lifted the painting easily off its hooks. No guards, no alarms. He carried it to a nearby service stairwell, set it down carefully, and began unscrewing the frame. It took a few minutes. The portrait, painted not on canvas, but on thick wooden panels, was heavy. Heavier than he expected. He wrapped it in a white sheet, tucked it under his arm, and turned toward the door that led to the courtyard. But fate wasn't going to let him walk out that easily. The door was locked. He tried his key. Nothing. The lock wouldn't budge. Panic crept in. There he was, trapped, sweating, clutching a priceless masterpiece under his arm, every second stretching longer than the last. Then, footsteps. A man appeared at the top of the stairwell. Vincenzo froze. It was one of the museum's plumbers. The man looked at him curiously, two workers standing in silence. Vincenzo pointed to the broken door, pretending to be frustrated, mumbling about a missing doorknob. The plumber nodded, took out his pliers, and helped open it. He even smiled as Vincenzo thanked him and walked through, unaware that he had just helped steal the world's most famous painting. Outside, the morning light hit the cobblestones of Paris as Vincenzo disappeared into the streets, with the Mona Lisa tucked beneath his smock. No car, no getaway driver. He simply walked, a worker heading home after a long shift, carrying the greatest treasure of the Renaissance beneath his arm. For more than 24 hours, no one even noticed she was gone. The Louvre at the time was nothing like the high-security museum it is today. Paintings were often removed for cleaning or photography, and staff members were used to seeing bare walls. When visitors passed the empty space where the Mona Lisa usually hung, most didn't think twice. It wasn't until the next day, when an artist came in to sketch her and asked a guard where she was, that the truth began to unfold. The guard shrugged, assuming it had been moved. But when the staff searched the storerooms and found nothing, the panic began. They called the police. Hours later, they discovered the glass case discarded in a stairwell. And that's when the museum realized the Mona Lisa wasn't misplaced. She had been stolen. Then, in December 1913, he made his move. Using the alias Leonard, he wrote to an art dealer in Florence named Alfredo Geri. He claimed he had the Mona Lisa and wanted to return it. for a fee of 500,000 lire. Jerry thought it was a hoax at first, but after discussing it with Giovanni Poggi, the director of the Uffizi Gallery, they decided to play along. They invited Leonard to bring the painting to Florence. A few days later, in a small hotel room, the two Italians met the thief. Perugia pulled a red silk cloth from his bag and slowly unwrapped the most famous face in history. The news hit the world like wildfire. After 2 years of mystery, the Mona Lisa had been found, and in the most unexpected way possible. Italians hailed Perugia as a hero, a patriot who had reclaimed a stolen treasure. Crowds gathered in Florence to see her before she was returned to France. For the first time, ordinary people, tailors, bakers, soldiers, stood shoulder to shoulder, craning their necks to see a small portrait that suddenly seemed like a national victory. Children waved flags, women threw flowers. "La Gioconda is home," the newspapers cried. It didn't matter that Perugia's story was historically wrong. The myth was too beautiful to resist. When the Mona Lisa finally returned to the Louvre in January 1914, she was greeted like a queen. The world's press followed every step of her journey. Soldiers guarded the train that carried her. At least 120,000 people came to see her within the first 2 days of her return. They lined up for hours just to look into her eyes, to stand before the woman who had vanished and come back. What once was a quiet painting became an icon, a symbol of mystery, beauty, and intrigue. The theft had done what no marketing campaign ever could. The Mona Lisa had left the Louvre a masterpiece. She returned a legend. As for Vincenzo Perugia, he didn't fade into villainy. During his trial in Italy, he claimed he had acted out of patriotism, not greed. The court believed him to, or at least wanted to. He was sentenced to just 1 year and 15 days in prison, and even that was later reduced to 7 months. When he walked free, he was celebrated in the streets. People threw him flowers, called him a national hero. The man who had stolen the Mona Lisa was applauded for bringing her home. He later fought for Italy in World War I, moved back to France, and opened a paint shop. He died quietly in 1925. The painting outlived him, and so did his legend. But the story didn't end there. Decades later, a rumor began to spread that Perugia hadn't acted alone. According to a 1932 article in the Saturday Evening Post, a con man named Eduardo de Valfierno had masterminded the theft. The story claimed Valfierno hired Perugia to steal the painting so that he could sell 6 forgeries as the real Mona Lisa to wealthy collectors around the world. Whether true or not, the tale added another layer of mystery to a crime already steeped in myth. No proof ever surfaced. But like the painting's smile, the truth remained elusive, because in the end, what kept her alive wasn't Da Vinci's brush or the Louvre's walls. It was the story. The idea that somewhere, a quiet man once risked everything just to hold her in his arms and call her his. And maybe, just maybe, that's why she still smiles.